Bitcoin is going to crash 50% in the next 2 years. That's one of the articles I'm covering today. Stay tuned, stick with me. I'm covering the latest Bitcoin news. My name's Matt. It's July 28, 2025. You found Team Bitcoin. Let's go. PayPal made a major change today. This is significant. And if you've used PayPal in the past, you know it's accepted by millions of vendors globally. You can now buy, sell, send, and spend. Let me foot stomp. You can spend your crypto now in PayPal. So what does that look like? Well, let's say we're going to a burger stand and your meal is $25. So you can select the crypto. Well, first you got to tie your wallet to PayPal. So say MetaMask, and you throw it into PayPal. You select the cryptocurrency you want to spend, and then it is going to convert it for you. So that $25, it's going to remove your $25 of Litecoin or whatever you're spending and send it over to pay for that burger. Now, the burger vendor is not going to actually get the crypto, which is unfortunate. They're going to get dollars or whatever the local currency they accept is. So it's not a one-for-one transfer. It is a conversion, but it's seamless. And what that does is allow people to spend their crypto very easily. So PayPal is converting it. They're charging a 1% fee, is my understanding. But you also need to consider that crypto prices go up and down. And at that moment of transaction, they need to have an exchange rate. And a lot of times those rates are skewed because the person that's buying and the person that's selling that you never see, they're really far apart. So they're going to skew on the side of making sure that PayPal doesn't lose money. So you got to factor that in. Now, typically I just use a limit order and sell my crypto and then I spend it. But this is going to make things really easy and you don't have to do all that anymore. So look forward to testing that, and I'll do a video on what I think. Next up is Truth Social, which is a company that President Donald Trump owns. He's done several major things, and I have videos in the past that talked about it. He's bought $2 billion of Bitcoin and threw it to the balance sheet. In addition, they announced they applied for a spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund that's blended. It would have Bitcoin, Ethereum. I think it was 75% Bitcoin, like 23% Ethereum. There was about 1% Crypto.com. I think XRP and maybe Cardano. Don't quote me on those altcoins, but it's something along those lines. So you could trade it like a stock, like I'm trading IBIT. But you would be trading whatever the ticker symbol is, and it would be blended in all those currencies. So if we truly are going into altcoin season and Bitcoin kind of goes sideways, but these altcoins start skyrocketing, then you would have exposure to that, which I think would be good for the consumer. It definitely would be good for Truth Social. Don't know what the fees are going to be, but the SEC, according to this article, kicked down the curb the decision until September. So we'll see how that all turns out. This billion-dollar investor says, Ray's basically saying you need to invest in gold, right? This is a 1 ounce gold coin issued by the United States of America. It's a buffalo. And I think I bought it for about $3,100 this year. It's about $3,400 now, meaning it is kept up with inflation. And that's what gold has historically done. And I have a lot of videos in the past that have talked about gold and why I'm accumulating it. Now, gold is not as liquid of an asset. So there is ways to do it. GLD is one of the ones. It's a ticker symbol. You can trade it. It's an exchange traded fund. I do trade that. I sell puts against it. I could get into those specifics later. But with this particular article, they're saying that the government collects approximately $5 trillion in income, but it spends $7 trillion. And so that math doesn't add up in my mind, but we've been doing that for a long time, and we just print more money to cover the debt. So in 5th grade, if I ran a lemonade stand and collected $5, but then I went out and spent $7, again, doesn't add up, but that's America for you. So we're spending 40% more than we're taking in. It's accumulated a debt that's 6 times income. The US government will likely need to issue another $12 trillion in treasuries to service the debt. And we're at the point of no return. We're potentially screwed is what he's saying. So in addition to gold, he identified Bitcoin as an alternative monetary asset. He notes, though, however, It's still not in the same category as gold, right? It's not proven 100-year history. And it's primarily because he does not expect central banks to adopt it as a official reserve asset. So, we'll see. We'll see as time goes by if more nation states say, you know what, we're done with the dollar, we're getting on the Bitcoin standard. That's the type of news I want to highlight because that's going to pump Bitcoin if that happens. So, wait and see. But gold might not have the returns Bitcoin has, but it helps diversify you, it helps protect you, and it helps you in something that's literally physical. If the United States, if all hell broke out, somebody will want this gold, right? Somebody will. So next up, price predictions. Wow. I don't take a lot of stock in price predictions. No one can predict the future. But there's ways to do it using charting patterns, looking at history, looking at the news like I am right now. If there's a change in the story, then that can change the movement and the volume and the direction of an asset. And that's the reason I'm doing these daily Bitcoin news highlights. But this guy's predicting a 50% loss or more of the value of Bitcoin and XRP in the next 2 years. Wow. Can you imagine? Everybody's kind of on the gravy train. Let's make money until nobody's making money. So here is the rationale for XRP. Unfortunately, crypto winners are a common occurrence of a bull market, which we're in right now. And digital currency arena, while XRP and Bitcoin appear to be unstoppable, the combination of basically sentiment-based headwinds can send both of these superstars plunging 50% or more. Well, that has been the story over history, but normally there's a catalyst that causes it. The last major pullback was FTX because of scandals and fraud in the government. We have changed into a different environment right now with the ETFs, the adoption of the companies, the government saying they're not going to sell their Bitcoin anymore. Like there's a lot of positives, and I'm covering them daily. So, but 2 years, that's a 24-month time frame. I could see a 50% pullback if we overextended to the upside. I could see that. Well, anyway, XRP, basically what he was saying is that its adoption is far from widespread, that only about 300 financial institutions use it as compared to SWIFT, which has over 11,000. But my understanding between SWIFT and XRP is a superior technology. It's real-time settlement. You could pay an employee real time their salary, not wait a week to get their check. I see adoption skewing to the superior technology. That's what I think is going to happen. So I'm actually kind of bullish on XRP, but what do I know? And then secondly, they're saying that nothing's stopping financial institutions from developing their own blockchain. Let's pick that apart. Nothing is stopping them from copying it. But let's say Bank of America, for instance, decides we're going to come up with our own blockchain. Do you think the rest of the banks in the globe are going to want Bank of America to own all their transactions back and forth? I don't think so. They're going to want a trusted third party that's secure and it's proven, and that's what XRP is. So, plus their first mover advantage. Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to pick holes into this rationale, but playing devil's advocate. Now, for Bitcoin specifically, they're saying it could go down to 60,000. There's a long list of headwinds. I would disagree, but, hey, here we are. For starters, Bitcoin has failed real-world utility tests. And it highlights El Salvador. And I've actually done a video on that as well. But that was the IMF giving them a very large loan that they'll probably never have to pay back to take them off the Bitcoin standard. But they're saying the El Salvadors didn't actually adopt it. I just think, here's what I would say about all this. I come from an IT background. They have this thing called the TCP/IP stack. Please do not throw sausage pizza away is the acronym. So physical's the bottom layer, and it goes all the way up to the application layer. And it was really theory, but it was a framework for things to get built, the internet to get built off of. It's like if everybody sticks to the same framework, we will be able to have a thriving internet 20, 30 years later, like we do right now. And so Bitcoin is similar to that. it seems like we've had Bitcoin forever, and there's a lot of billionaires and trillionaires related to Bitcoin, but really it hasn't been around that long. And that stack of software and those specifics and the laws surrounding it all are all getting hammered out. So in that sense, we are early. And so my understanding is the Lightning Network is that next stack that's going to allow you to transact in Bitcoins very cheaply, very fast. And my understanding, it's actually better than XRP as far as the ability to do that. So I don't know if I subscribe to what this guy's spinning, but there's always risk, and I want to look at every piece of it. They're also talking about the bubble, the Bitcoin treasury companies, and there's a lot of companies that have no business buying Bitcoin. And if we do have a pullback and a crash, they're going to suffer hard if everybody keeps adding it to the balance sheet. So, can they hold out and hold it long enough for it to recover, or does that put them in a financial strain and cause them to go bankrupt? So that's the kind of future that we need to start considering, because the more exposure to Bitcoin creates these type of possible scenarios, and you got to watch that, and that's the point of this channel. So anyway, again, 50% loss in the next 2 years is what this guy's saying could happen. Next up, Bitcoin price prediction rally warning says, hey, we think we got another leg up, but then we're going to crash in September. That's the gist of this article. One more major rally before we crash down. So I would say, where does the rally go? Does it go to 250,000 in a very short amount of time and then we crash down to 125? Yeah, I could see that happening, because that's what Bitcoin does, right? So when it happens, up or down, it will most likely happen very quickly. And if it happens to the upside, it'll be a FOMO moment. Everybody's going to want to jump in. That'll drive the prices higher, but at a certain point you run out of buyers, and that's when the crash happens. So we haven't had the FOMO moment yet, in my opinion. We're not even close to that. So we'll see what happens. Keep tracking it. Now, this rationale, the 365-day moving average, is showing the same double top pattern that triggered the 21 crash. Well, yeah, that's charting, but there was also news that was related to that, which was the FTX stuff and the fraud, and that crypto was going away, and there was a lot of fear at that time. So, I'm waiting for the news to drive the fear that would cause the sell-off, and I don't see that right now. So with that, speaking of that, guess where we are? We're at 118. So if we were fearful, we would have kept going down into the low 100 range. That didn't happen. We bottomed out at 115 and we came right back to where we started. And that's just washing the short sellers out. That's what's been happening. So we're in a trading range. We have been for a bit. With that, that is my Bitcoin news for today.